Everybody take out a pen and a piece of paper, and we're going to have a quiz. See how much you remembered. No, really, I wanted to say, again, thank you for coming out. And how many have learned something? How many have just a lot of things bouncing around? And yeah. So anyway, he's going to come and help us sort out some of that stuff. I did want to let you know that all this is being recorded, and it'll take maybe a couple days to tidy it up and whatnot, but it'll all be posted on a website called freedomco.net. You might want to write that down, freedomco.net. If you're not familiar with that website, I'd encourage you to become familiar with it. We're trying to post there all things that pertain to life and godliness in these United States and in these tumultuous, unprecedented times that we're going through. So anyway, again, Freedom Co. It stands for the Freedom Coalition Network. And that's what we're trying to do, is network with people like Christo Hartman and David Straight and many, many others. All the presenters from Free and Brave Part 1, Free and Brave Part 2. We're already thinking about and planning Free and Brave Part 3. We also want you to know that on July 3rd, we have the Tamika Hamilton fundraiser. I think Tamika Hamilton won in her race here in California, but as you know, none of the elections in California have been contested, but I do think she won. She's back at it again, and Dinesh D'Souza is coming to do a fundraiser for her, and it'll be here, not in this room, but on this campus on July 3rd, and you can go to Tamika Hamilton for Congress and register there. Again, Dinesh D'Souza, it's going to be a fundraiser for her, and it should be great. And then we have a big event, as you can see. We're expanding the parking, doing all kinds of things. We're getting ready for General Michael Flynn to come, and he'll be here all day on July 16th, and we're going to start with a 2-hour question and answer with General Michael Flynn. How many have a question or two they'd like to ask him? Yeah. So anyway, that's a fundraiser also, and it'll be $500 for that question and answer. You can sign up online. If you're interested, you need to do it right away because it'll definitely be a sellout. All right, so that's General Michael Flynn. We think also that Lynn Wood will be opening for him, but we don't have confirmation yet, but that does look hopeful. All right, so bless you. Thanks for coming out, and now here's Christo Hartman.
Just checking, First of all, I wanted to say that I know we're all eager to find out more information when David's speaking. As anyone that speaks, you have a train of thought and everything. So if you could just write down your questions instead of interrupting him, and then you're going to have more information come out with that particular subject. It's just amazing, okay? But write it down, and we will have time for you to ask all those questions. In addition, and this is very exciting, not only are you here for yourself to become a breathing, living man and woman, but you, or I should actually ask, who is interested in learning this information, becoming a national, and becoming a trainer and do what David does? So, one other question. How many people by hands are from Oregon? Nice. So, We haven't determined a day of the week, but every week we're going to have a meeting, and we're going to go over your repudiation, make sure that it is accurate, and then we're going to have scenes in court. A person will play the judge, the prosecutor, the accused, the bailiff, and so everybody gets their chance until you got it down expertly. And again, just like David said, do not try this at home. Do not try this until you are expert and you're very confident with all this. So in Oregon, it's going to be Thursday nights, and we begin this Thursday in that training. Thank you very much. God bless you. And here's Mr. David Straight.
That working? Okay. Oh, it looks like somebody scribbled all over the board. And somebody hid my eraser. There it is. You know, in order for people to take dominion and do what God commanded us to do, He commanded us to take dominion. I mean, He said, do it for the benefit of your heirs, your children, your grandchildren's children, and on forever. In order to take dominion, we have to understand the 3 jurisdictions that we have to take dominion of. And there is 4 jurisdictions, but all of our courts actually operate in all 3 jurisdictions. Now, that was a little hard for me to swallow at first when I started learning this. I'm thinking, those sons of bucks, they're administering this jurisdiction of the water, right? And everything is about contracts. And the reason I thought that is because probably 98% of the time that you're in a courtroom, that is what they're administering. And that's because they got the other 2 jurisdictions out of the way right away. And I didn't really realize this until April 22nd of last year when I was in Washington, D.C. And I actually got called in to teach a class to a group of young attorneys who were going to work for the Department of Justice. So lots happened over the last year or so. But these guys were Georgetown graduates and Yale University graduates and Stanford graduates in the law with jurid doctorate degrees. And I'm thinking to myself, well, who the hell am I? I don't have no jurid doctorate degree. All I've done is studied for a long period of time and tried to help people. That's all I've tried to do. And why am I getting called in? It's because these guys were watching me. And President Trump, he said, I want to get back to the rule of law. And he told William Barr that you need to get David up there. And I was a little bit intimidated because these guys are Yale graduates and Stanford graduates and Harvard graduates and Georgetown University graduates. And who's David? A farm boy from a mill town in Oregon who tries to help parents? And I started my class off with 2 or more of everything, just like I did this weekend. And I started my class off with LAW. And I only had 4 hours. So I had to cram a lot of information in these kids in 4 hours. And I say kids because they're in their 20s. I'm not. And this one young man came up to me afterwards, and he said, David, I graduated from Georgetown University, tops of my class. My father was a judge, and my grandfather was a judge. My father taught as a professor of law at Georgetown. And back when I was 16 years old, before I even graduated from high school, long before I even went into Georgetown University, I got to sit in one of my father's Saturday classes. And the Saturday classes is when the judges come in to be taught. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that happened, right? That the judges come in to be taught. And my father told a story, and I was sitting in the back of the room. And he says, when a man walks into a courtroom, the very first thing he usually sees is a sign up on the judge's desk that says, Your Honorable Bob Smith, or whatever his name is. Your Honor. The first job hat the judge puts on as he walks up there when the bailiff says, all rise for the Honorable Judge Bob Smith, is the Your Honor hat. Honor deals with trust, the jurisdiction of the air, as you said in class. The highest form of law, trust law, to be a fiduciary. And you can't have honor without trust, and you can't have trust without honor. So when he's wearing his Your Honor hat, he's looking for the man to walk into the courtroom. When I say man, I mean mankind, anybody, to walk into the courtroom with their express trust in hand. Now, there's only two types of trust, express or implied. Express means it's written. But Lady Justice has two ears. She's got to see it, and she's got to hear it. Now, does she have to read it? No. Not a trust. Trusts are private. But if the man walks in with his express trust in hand, and he holds it up, somewhere in this stack is my God trust. There it is. And he holds his trust document in his hands. And he clearly expresses the trust. Then he's taken dominion over that jurisdiction. Now, in order to clearly express the trust, you have to say, Your Honor, you can't imply that there's a trust because I have an express trust. And my trust clearly states who the executor is, who the trustee is, and who the beneficiary is. And it's not you, and it's not the prosecutor. So you can't imply a trust when an express trust exists. Okay? Which means, Your Honor, you're acting as executor de son tort, or a false executor. Now, that statement right there gave me dominion over the jurisdiction of the air because I have my document in hand. You see what I mean? So I took dominion over that juris. In order to take dominion over the jurisdiction of the land, see, then the judge takes that hat off, that Your Honor hat off, and he puts on a judge hat. That's his next job. Now he's got to administer the jurisdiction of the land. And what he's doing is he's waiting for the man to walk in with his superior titles, his gold and his silver, his flag, and his superior titles and his superior rights. And the man doesn't walk in there with his superior titles in hand. He can take that hat off and set it aside. Within the first 60 seconds of you walking up there, appearing by general appearance, turning over all jurisdiction to the court, not having your trust document in hand, not having your superior titles and rights, then you've lost jurisdiction in those two dominions. And it takes him less than a minute to adjudicate two jurisdictions because you didn't. Whose fault is it? That's right. We got to take responsibility for that. It's hard. So then he automatically moves to his next hat, which is Mr. Administrator. And in his Mr. Administrative capacity, all he's doing is contract law. He's doing the jurisdiction of the water. And guess what happened? You walked in there with truth and facts. You didn't walk in there with your contracts in hand. You didn't walk in there with your copyrights and your trademarks and your patents. I want you to think of Michael Jordan and Nike for just a minute. Michael Jordan signed a 5-year contract with Nike. 5 years, $1 billion. What did he give up? The use of his name. That's it. Nike puts his name on $7 billion worth of T-shirts and shorts and tennis shoes and sells them. And they pay Michael $1 billion. It's $200 million a year. Not a bad gig if you can get it. Just for giving up the use of your name, which, by the way, was trademarked and copyrighted and under contract with Nike. So in Michael's contract, it says, notify Nike if there's any problems legally in your life. You notify us first. Otherwise, you're in breach of contract, and there goes your $1 billion. So Michael says, okay, I'm not going to breach my contract. But he drives down the freeway outside of Chicago, a little over 100 miles an hour in his Ferrari, and he gets stopped, and he gets a traffic ticket. And he calls up Nike, and he says, hey, I got this little legal problem. It's just merely a traffic ticket. I was going a little fast on the freeway. Nike says, when's your court date? So Michael tells him the court date and time. No problem. They just load up a bunch of Nike's corporate attorneys on the G5 and they land in Chicago. And they go to traffic court with Michael Jordan. Do you think they walked in there and talked about the road conditions and the temperature and how many cars were on the road and how safe it was and what the officer did or didn't do or the speed he was going? Did he argue any of the facts? None whatsoever. They walked in and they said, Your Honor, no one got the express written permission of Nike prior to writing Michael Jordan's name down on a ticket. Therefore, violating the copyrights, trademarks, and contracts of Nike, and under Title 35 of the United States Code, you can regulate business, but you can't interfere in it. We demand that anything with Michael Jordan's name on it be destroyed immediately and our property returned to us. Case closed. Case closed. No fact or truth shall be tried in court. We all try and argue the facts because we want justice, and then what we get is just ice. And I'm not kidding. Every single one of us, when we have a court problem, we go in and try and argue the facts. What happened at 4:09 p.m.? That's how police build a case. You know? I showed up at the victim's home at 4:09 p.m. on such and such a date, and I made this observation. And then I went over at 4:11, and I talked to the neighbor, and I questioned them, and they verified the information that I came to the conclusion of, because we're just there to draw the chalk outlines after the crime. That's all cops are there for. They're only good for drawing chalk outlines. They didn't witness the crime. They didn't know the intent. They didn't know anything. And then you show up in court and you've got all those facts listed on your papers. And they don't even care. Why don't they care? Because it's called railroading. Yeah, railroading. Why do they call it that? To lead someone down a narrow path or rail to a predetermined outlook or conclusion. Railroading is a legal term. To lead someone down a path. Presumption. Assumption. Tacit agreement. And hearsay. And they lead you down that path until they have put you in jail, or until they have taken your kids, or until whatever. They have fined you, taxed the poor, which might not otherwise be taxed. They presume your status and your standing. They presume they have jurisdiction. They assume you did something wrong. They get your tacit agreement or approval of being a citizen, a person, a resident, taking a plea deal, saying you're guilty or not pleading. They get your tacit agreement, and then they use hearsay to convict you. Because where was the intent? Where was the first-hand witness? Where was the evidence that you did anything wrong? Where was it? That's how our just-ice system works. No fact or truth shall be tried in court. And you can't win in a family court when the family court is evil. Family courts, if you don't take it away from them, you will lose. You can't win in a family court. They are evil. They are trafficking human beings, whether that's senior citizens out of their estate or whether that's your kids, they're trafficking. And that's hard and it hurts. Stay out of family court. You're never going to accomplish anything there, and the attorneys will eat you alive. They'll drain your bank accounts, and you won't accomplish a stinking thing. They've already paid off the sheriffs. They've already paid off the psychoanalysts, psychologists. They've paid off the guardian ad litems. They've paid off everybody because they get $3.3 million per child. It's a business. It's a private for-profit business with a Dun & Bradstreet number. It's incorporated. It's not government. Understand that right now. Almost no one you're dealing with in your entire life is government, except for you. You're self-governed, and you're self-governed, and you're self-governed. Government is who you submit to. Think about that one. It's who you submit to. When they lead you down this path, well, you're screwed. That is a legal term. Because they made some presumptions. Is that truth? They made some assumptions. Is that truth? Was there any full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions? Is that truth? And where was the first-hand witness? Where was the corroborating witness? Where was the intent to commit the crime? They accused you of something, right? They made some kind of accusatory statement, and the reason why they took your kids away from you. Does that mean you were a bad mother or father? No, not at all. Not at all. You did nothing wrong. And they did it to you anyway. This is one of the things that kills me the most. This is the corruption in our court systems, where we're supposed to get justice, and all we get is just ice. I brought that up in federal court, and it went unrebutted. In Timmy's trial, and we called the judge out for capital felony treason against we the people. And it went on the record 3 times without him denying it. And so we walked across the courtroom and put our hand on their shoulder, on the judge's shoulder. That takes a little guts, especially when the whole sheriff's department is lined up against the back wall, right? And we put our hand on his shoulder and we said, "You're under arrest." Now, we know the sheriff's department's not going to do anything about it, but if you'll close the case down immediately and recuse yourself and not come back to the bench, we'll let it go.
Dismissed.
It's exactly what happened to 3 judges in a row. Okay, 3 judges in a row we had to do that. That is an absolutely scary thing to do. Especially when the judge says, after the second time you call him out for capital felony treason, he says, "I'm going to hold you in contempt." I said, "Judge, you're supposed to be a neutral, disinterested third party. Are you threatening me with contempt? Is that what you're doing? Are you threatening me? Are you going into dishonor?" See, that's my response to being threatened to be held in contempt. I've been threatened lots of times. I've never been held in contempt once because I say that. I extinguish the fire. That judge might be pissed, but it's better for him to be pissed than me be in jail. Okay? This is a major, major issue. Learn it. Teach your children that this is what's happening. Keep them out of jail. I don't want anyone to go to jail. It's not a nice place.
Sir, please can you say that again about the disinterested third party?
Your Honor, the argument, think about it, the argument is between me and the prosecutor. It's not between me and the judge. He's supposed to be a referee, a neutral, disinterested third party, unless, of course, he's trafficking children. And he does traffic children, some of them, especially at the family court levels, especially when they're county commissioners who become judges, especially when they're Masons. Most of them are. See, California has a perfect storm. California, the sheriff is also the coroner. Boy, he can shoot you, write the report, do your autopsy, write the report, bury the body, write the report, issue the death certificate.
That's worth some dollars too.
Oh, it's worth a lot of dollars to the ones trafficking children. See, he covers up for them. They all scratch each other's backs. So then you end up with attorneys and judges and others getting paid off the profits of the backs of the children. Don't you feel like we ought to be doing something about that? Yes. It's hard for me every single day to be righteous and not go just 2 o'clock in the morning to solve the problem. Be like the Forest Service and leave no trace. It's very difficult. So if we don't take dominion of our jurisdictions, they will. So when we get into the jurisdiction of the water, everything is contracts. Your Honor, I'm fully unaware of any contract that could compel me to perform. If there is such a contract, bring it forward, and I'll follow it to the fullest extent of the law. But if there isn't, then I guess we're done here. Please dismiss the case with prejudice, and we'll go have tacos. And then shut up. The shutting up is the hardest part. See, most people incriminate the hell out of themselves. They want to pour out their story. They don't care about your story. Okay? Now, I know you do. It's important to you. It's important to those that love you. But it's not so important to the judge that's trafficking children or taking your house or your car. It's not important to them at all. They don't care. So there's parts of a lawful contract. How many parts are there to a contract? An attorney's going to tell you there's 3. He's lying to you. If his lips are moving, he is an actor to a turn, right? Number 1, there must be parties competent to contract. The parties to a contract should be competent, being of the age of consent, of sound mind, not disqualified from contracting by any law to which he or she is subject. A flaw in capacity may be due to minority, lunacy, idiocracy, drunkenness, or dissimilarity of kind. Dissimilarity of kind. The parties should be of the same kind, being either legal fiction actors or natural living men and women. Allowing more than 2 parties is okay, but never a mixture of these kinds in their respective jurisdictions. One of the reasons patriots lose and sovereign citizens lose, and sovereign citizen, that's an oxymoron. You can either be sovereign or you can be a citizen. What a sovereign citizen is somebody in the middle, claiming to be the king, but he's not. But it's an oxymoron. Never a mixture of these kinds. So the sovereign citizen, the patriot, he goes in there and he says, all right, I'm going to sign as the man, and I'm going to put my thumbprint. Great. That's one jurisdiction. And he mixed it up. Who was suing him? The only one that could sue the state of Cali is the vessel. Now, I can represent the vessel as the executor, but I can't go in there as the man or any way, shape, or form. I can't do it. If I do, it'll just be thrown out. They'll laugh. They'll call you a minor, incompetent. They'll be in the back room in the judge's chambers just laughing their asses off at you. And you walked out and said, man, my documents were good. They had all the truth and all the facts. I think I did everything right. And they're laughing at you because you don't know who you are, and you don't know who they are, and you don't know your 3 jurisdictions, and you haven't taken dominion. And when you haven't taken dominion, you lose, even when you're right. Okay. Number 2 is free and genuine consent. The consent of the parties to the agreement must be free and genuine. The consent of the parties should not be obtained by misrepresentation, fraud, undue influence, coercion, or mistake. If the consent is obtained by any of these means, then the contract is not valid or legally, lawfully enforceable. Number 3, full disclosure. When negotiating a contract, full disclosure is a step of providing all material information or telling the whole truth about any matter which may influence the decision-making of the other party or parties before they decide to enter into a contract. If either party fails to make full disclosure, the contract is null and void. Okay. Where was a securities licensed agent in the room at the birthing ward when your mother was giving birth? Where was the insurance license agent? Where was the attorney to explain the trust to you, the trust attorney? Did the doctor explain anything? No full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions of the contract. And your mom, gosh, all she wanted to do is get home with that beautiful bouncing baby. And so she signed off as an informant. And when you sign off as an informant, you gave the title and equity of the child to the state. And it created a doctrine called parens patriae. If anything happens to you, I can't spell. Let's try that one again. Parens patriae. Latin. Short version is the state is your parent. It created that doctrine, a false and fraudulent doctrine. And so the family court thinks they have, under the doctrine of parens patriae, and judges even admit this on their court documents if you ask them. Parens patriae. And the state becomes the parent. Well, you gave them away as an informant. Our lack of knowledge will be our downfall. See, righteousness needs to come into our lives in a much more profound way than we're getting it from our great churches, from how we're reading it in the Bible when we read chapter and verse. When we read chapter and verse, we take things out of context. Oh, that verse sounds nice. I like that. I like the way that sounds. Has nothing to do with the story that was behind it. You pulled it out. My suggestion is read the Bible the way it was meant to be written. Don't look at what book it's in, or what chapter it's in, or what verse it's in. Read it as a trust indenture. Then read it as an instruction manual on how to take dominion of the jurisdictions. See, when God parted the waters for Moses, and he was leading his people out of Egypt, he says, fear not, walk upon the land. Go over there to the other side and inherit the land of Canaan, and that'll be your generations, your inheritance forever. Right, Pastor Dave? Your inheritance forever. He's teaching you the jurisdiction of the land and property rights. That's what he's teaching you, how to take dominion of the land. When Christ walked upon the water out to the boat with the fishermen, and they were fishing over here on this side of the boat, and they're barely catching enough fish to feed their own family. And he says, walk with me, have faith, come follow me around to the other side of the boat. He didn't say get out on the water. He said, walk with me, learn to walk upon the water. Cast your nets over here, and you'll be the fishers of men. In other words, they'll catch so many fish they can go back and feed a village. He's teaching them how commerce works, the jurisdiction of the water. Isn't that interesting? See, the Bible is different than people think it is. There's a lot left out. We know that for a fact. We're only getting part of the information. If it was all there, we wouldn't be in the shit we're in now. That's why I wear boots. It's the only way to wade through it. I'm serious. It's a joke. It's for fun, but I'm serious. If you get a traffic ticket, it's because they used the jurisdiction of parens patriae to give it to you. By your own tacit agreement of being a citizen, person, or resident. See, it's a driver's license application that gets you in trouble. You check mark the box. You filled out your address improperly. You did all kinds of things on that application that you don't even know were wrong. Not only that, it was written by an attorney. Yeah. See, this is where a story of my friend Justin comes in. I always got to talk about Justin. Justin's the smartest kid I ever met. A year and a half, he had his doctorate degree out of high school. Everything he ever read, he remembered. And he did it with flying colors. So a big law firm from Seattle hired him. Day you pass the bar, we'll throw you a party. And they rented the Space Needle. The whole thing. And they had a party up there for Justin. And when the meal was all done, and if you know anything about the Space Needle, it goes around one time in an hour, and you get to see the whole city. And after the meal, Justin's standing there, and he's looking out the windows of the lights of Seattle. And the head of the legal law firm that he got hired by came up and put his arm around Justin. And he says, "What do you see out there?" And Justin says, "Oh, I was just admiring all the lights and everything." And he goes, "Nah, that's not what I meant. What do you see out there? Right here in Seattle, we got some of the largest corporations in the world. We've got Boeing and Microsoft and Amazon and others." And he named off a half a dozen. And he says, "See the small little mom and pop shops down along the piers? What about across the bay out over Olympia, the Capitol building, and all the municipalities in between? You see all those? Can you imagine all those?" And Justice says, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, who do you think runs all that?" And Justice says, "Well, all the big corporations, the CEOs run them, and the governments, we the people, go to our legislatures and we affect law, and the law is passed, and so I guess we the people run our legislators, as it says right there in the Constitution." And the guy lets out a great big old belly laugh, and he says, "No, not at all." See, there's not one piece of sales literature written, not one contract that's ever signed, not one invoice that's ever issued, not one piece of legislation ever gets passed, not one CEO ever makes a decision, and not one governor even makes a decision until they run it past us, the lawyers, their legal department. And I want you to think about that for just a minute. Not one governor, not one legislator, not one county commissioner, not one CEO, right? Not Bezos, not Bill Gates. They don't do anything until they run it past the legal department. That's what they pay the big bucks for all those attorneys for. See, attorneys are experts in words. They call it legalese. They'll put a line. Let's just say they put a line from margin to margin. Do you know what that line means? Okay, me with my legal document, I'm going to call this page 1 of, I don't care, 34. I like to be wordy sometimes. But if I drew a line from margin to margin, well then, this is page 1. That page, nothing on it exists. It's not numbered. It's not part of the document. See, you weren't taught styles, were you? There's a Chicago Styles Manual. There's a DC Styles Manual. There's an Oxford Styles Manual. And the English language is nothing without learning styles. You don't know what hyphens mean. You don't know what lines on a document mean. You don't know what a box means. See, attorneys are really good at putting things in boxes. And that's called the four-corner rule, and it just took it out of the contract. It becomes a separate contract from everything outside of it. This is the way they screw with you. This is the way they screw with you. Valuable consideration. The consideration is something of value possessed by the parties that is brought to the contract table. This something of value is bargained for and given in exchange for a promise or a performance. The parties must each receive a benefit and each suffer a detriment. To be enforceable, a contract must have valuable consideration. A contract is unenforceable if it has insufficient or unequal consideration without agreement. We can have unequal consideration, but we must agree upon that, where we literally say in the contract that we understand it's unequal, that I may get a future benefit down the road, right? Like maybe a few blessings. All right. Number 5, certainty of terms. Is the fan on in here? David's brain creates heat. The terms and conditions of the contract must be fully disclosed and agreed upon and must be certain and fixed. Any subsequent variation of terms must be agreed upon separately. That means it must be an addendum to the contract. Number 6, a meeting of the minds. A meeting of the minds, a consensus ad item, occurs between the parties when they recognize each other, understand their mutual obligations, and agree. A meeting of the minds occurs between living men and women in lawful matters and between legal fiction actors in legal matters. See, lawful matters, this is a good one. Oh, I'm not kidding. Evil holds a mirror up to righteousness. The legal definition of the word legal is very interesting. It is the undoing of God's laws. The undoing of God's laws. So somebody asked me, well, is it legal to do that? I go, who cares? As long as I'm awful, I'm fine. See, my gun permit was issued in 1791, and it says it shall not be infringed. And if they've got an A1 tank, I can have an A1 tank. If they got an A-10 plane, I can have an A-10 plane. I like the sound of warthogs make anyway. Whoa. Object destroyed. It's kind of like a video game. It's very quick. 20 millimeter revolving barrel. Whew. They just fired 1,000 rounds about that fast. Object destroyed. It's kind of fun. Anyway. Number 7, autographs or signatures. Lawful written contracts between living men and women must carry the wedding autographs of the parties, compromising living identifications such as a thumbprint. But more often, living standing is recognized by an unambiguous declaration with a handwritten wedding autograph included the prefix by : before the signature. See, hopefully by the end of this weekend, you will learn that you must qualify everything. Oh, honey. Years of study, and I found it in canon law. See, canon law is really interesting. Canon law talks all about our trusts, our Sesta trusts. It talks all about how justice works. It talks about good and evil and right and wrong and how to administer it, and nobody reads this stuff. I don't know why nobody reads canon law. Maybe because they don't even teach it in law school.
Sir,
Yes.
how can we ignore, because I got the canons of positive laws.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about, the natural, not the natural, the true trust, the true person. I used all that in my documentation. They still just ignored it.
I bet they did. By the end of the weekend, you'll know why. See, we can attack them in all three jurisdictions, but we can't mix jurisdictions. Now, that sounds odd, doesn't it? You can attack them in all three jurisdictions, but you can't mix jurisdictions. What is a court of record? It's not the brick building. I'll tell you that right now. It's not the type of court. Yes, all Supreme Courts are courts of record automatically. All federal circuit courts are extensions of the federal Supreme Court. See, when this country had 7 million people, we had 9 Supreme Court justices. Now we have 337 million people, and we have 9 Supreme Court justices. Yeah. That's a little problem there. So what they did is they made some other courts. Don't you dare say district. Circuit courts. District courts are extensions of the District of Columbia. Got to know who your enemy is. If you don't know who they are, you're going to get, well, taken advantage of. By and or the words all rights reserved and without prejudice written below it. Now that's for men and women. That's the jurisdiction of what? The land. What about the jurisdiction of water where they're spending most of their time operating? See, if you did that on your document, you just screwed up. And you usually lose. See? You usually lose. The highest form of law is the jurisdiction of the air. The air is above the land, which is above the water. That's your 3 jurisdictions. Man, I can't write. The air is above the land, which is above the water. To be a fiduciary is the highest form of law. To hold things in trust for the benefit of another is the highest form of law. We need to get trust documents on our children. We need to hold our children in contract like Michael Jordan. He could be my kid. Hold him in contract, trademark him, copyright him, patent him. We've gotten children back to fathers by patenting their DNA of the children as uniquely created biological property of the father. Now, the father is naturally the heir apparent. See, it's the mother that usually signs off on the birth certificate, and that's a terrible downfall. And we've learned never fast enough. We never learn fast enough. But we've learned that the mother needs to rescind her signature as an informant on the child's birth certificate. She's not rescinding the birth certificate. She's rescinding her signature on the birth certificate application. Okay? And then she needs to claim title to her children. See, right now, the counties in California hold title to the children. Go to the county courthouse, they got the kids' birth certificates.
What age?
What do you mean, what age?
I mean, is there a limit on the age?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is there a limit on the age?
Well, technically, he's only a child between birth. No. Age 8. Between birth and his 8th birthday. His 8th birthday is the age of accountability. That's when they're children. They're your sons and daughters forever, aren't they? But that's when they can't do anything for themselves and the parents have to. Do you know at age 8 a child can claim its own estate? Really? Yeah. Well, is it? Not sure they're good money managers at that point. But they can. I don't recommend it. Most of them until they're 40, they don't have a brain. I know, I got kids that are 40. Oh, wait, that tells how old I am. Oh, anyway, lawful is not necessarily legal. Anything lawful is God's laws, nature's laws, supreme laws of the land. Okay? Supreme laws of the land. Legal written contracts between legal fiction actors must carry the wet ink signatures of the parties as an accommodation from a man or a woman. See, there's a key in the law right there that most people don't get. Let me read it again. Legal written contracts between legal fiction actors. That means your vessel and the state. Okay, 2 legal fiction actors must carry the wet ink signature of the parties as an accommodation from the man or the woman. So you can either accommodate the vessel as the man, or you can accommodate the vessel as the executor. If you have a choice, which would you rather do? Every time. Learn to do that. Forget the other way. You don't need it for anything except titles. Do you have title to your kids? Do you have title to your car? Do you have title to your home? You don't own anything. Slaves can't own property. And when you go complain about it, that they're taking your property, they just take it. Because you're the slave. You didn't own it in the first place. But they don't sit you down as the slave. The master doesn't sit you down and say, you didn't own it anyway. It's a warranty deed. We declared war on you and you accepted. You hold it in joint tenants in common. Husband and wife renter to the state. Oh, they forgot to mention that? How many law classes did you have kindergarten through 12th grade? Same number I did, 0. None of us had it. We all had to kind of figure it out as we go. Maybe another 50, 60 years, if I live that long, I'll be good at it. See? We're all just trying. We're trying to help others. We're trying to help ourselves. And boy, does the devil work hard. Number 8, this is my favorite. Privity of contract. A contract exists only between the parties. No third party can obtain rights contained within a contract or buy or sell a contract without the express permission of the original parties. So, Professional Credit Services calls you up on the phone. Says, David, hey, remember when you were sick and you were over at the hospital and that bill got up a couple $1,000s? We went over there and we bought that from the hospital, and you owe us $2,148.19. And I say, Mr. Professional Credit Services, did you pay off my hospital bill for me? That was very nice of you. I really appreciate that gift at this time, as I obviously have been unhealthy and not able to work properly, and I'm a little short on funds. So I really appreciate that gift at this time. But you and I, there's no privity of contract. Done. Now, are they going to give up easy? Not always. So you hit them again, and you hit them again, and you hit them again. Rule of 3. Remember this. What does God say in the Bible? Oh, he talks about the rule of 3 all the time, all the way through it. So does our Just I system. They got to hear everything 3 times. Most people only get to tell them once, and then they give up. You don't give up, ever. You never surrender until they're hauling your body off the stage. That's what we used to say. Drop us in, burn the bridge behind us. Because there is no defeat. Okay? There is no defeat. That's the 8 parts to a contract. Pretty stinking important. See, in order to take dominion of the jurisdiction of the water, which is what I'm trying to get through here in a number of different ways, so you understand it, inland piracy, admiralty. See, the U.S. Navy put the high water mark up on the mountains in Colorado so that we're all underwater. And it's all inland piracy. To tax the poor, which might not otherwise be taxed. That's why the courtrooms fly the gold fringe flag. You ever watch President Trump giving speeches? When he was representing the United States Corporation as its CEO, he had gold fringe flags behind him. When he was representing the United States of America, they had no fringe, and there were 17 of them. How many people have seen our civil flag of peace? How many people know we have a peace flag? Not very many. That's pretty sad. And the reason why is there's only been 3 years since 1776 where the United States of America has been at peace. Now that's even sadder. The Coast Guard, being a civil entity, uses our peace flag with their logo in the center. That's a civil flag of peace. It has vertical red and white stripes instead of horizontal, and it has blue stars on a white background instead of white stars on a blue background. This flew above our buildings, our commerce buildings, for 3 years. And we haven't seen it since. I fly one at my house. You know what happens when you fly the war flag in front of your house? See, you guys don't know flag law. Title IV of the United States Code. If I fly a war flag in front of my house, I designate my house as a military installation, and if soldiers need quartering, if soldiers need a meal, they can stop there and get a meal and rest. but you're also subject to foreign invasion. See, patriots don't even know who they're patriotic to. They pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And they swear an oath to the war flag. Who wrote the Pledge of Allegiance? William Bellamy. William Bellamy was hired by the President of the United States to write the Pledge of Allegiance. He was head of the Communist Party of America. Oh, they changed it several times. Finally adopted in its current form in 1954. William Francis Bellamy. You'll see his name as Francis Bellamy and William F. Bellamy and whatever. He was head of the Communist Party. Is an oath bad? No. But is an oath to the wrong thing bad? Yeah. See, I only pledge allegiance to my God.
We have no king but God.
He is the King of kings, and I am a king. He is not the king of slaves. He tells the slaves to come out of her, O ye Babylon. Be a king. You're a king, and you're a queen, and you're a king, and you're a queen, and you're a king, and you're a queen. Stop being slaves. Stop asking permission. Stop standing against perceived authority. It's only perceived authority. I already told you the FBI has no authority to even exist, and you call them up to help you with problems. All they're there to do is cover up for the deep state, the cabal. Trump wanted to abolish the FBI really bad. JFK did too. Exactly right. So, in admiralty law, a way to protect ourselves and take dominion is this. For $40 in Oregon, I don't know what California's is. For $40 in Oregon, I can get on my iPad and I can register a company. Let's call it ABC Inc. I don't care what it is for this. And I can register ABC Inc. with the Secretary of State's Department of Business Licensing. $40. And in the notes section, I can put in their stupid little box that this is a business that has the intent to make a profit with a product offered for sale in international commerce. So you have to have a product offered for sale with the intent to make a profit. It doesn't say you ever have to make a profit, but you at least got to have one, a business open. And I don't care if you take a same $100 bill and you go down to the bank and you open up an ABC Inc. checking account, and I don't care if that same $100 bill's there 10 years from now. You never have to make a profit. You have to have the intent. Now, $40, 15 minutes, I can do this. And I can set this company up. I can go on the IRS website and I can give it an EIN number. I can go on the website of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and with a little more time, because the first time you do this, you better watch all the tutorials. You're going to use the TEAS Plus form. U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. TEAS Plus. And you're going to do a bulk trademark registration. A bulk trademark registration. And you're going to take your kids' birth certificates and your birth certificate and your wife's birth certificate and you're going to register all of the vessels on the T's Plus form under ABC Inc. Now, I highly recommend you go down to a t-shirt shop where they do screen printing, and you put the word ABC Inc. No, you make up your own shit. I'm the king. I made up ABC Inc. Okay? Just like the Nike swoosh, you put it above the pocket, ABC Inc. And now you put your trademark names of your vessels on the backs of 6 or 7 different colored T-shirts. Make them in your size because they're fun to wear in the court. Yeah, we're doing this now the last few months across the country. And you make up these T-shirts with the kids' names trademarked on them, just like Michael Jordan. And now you write a contract, a simple contract giving the children 10% of the profit of the company on the sales of their T-shirts, and hope Grandma buys a bunch. She's probably the only one that's going to buy some with your kid's name on it. You know, maybe some uncles and stuff. Anyway, register them. Set up the company, make it a legal, lawful business. Keep it up. Costs you almost nothing. To do all this is maybe a $500 bill. Buy some T-shirts. Now, CPS shows up at your door. First, you give them a warning to all agents. I have a form, one-page form. This one-page form warns them away. And we have stopped them from taking a whole lot of children with this form. Now, that's before it happens. It's always easier to solve a problem before it happens. Okay? And you use this form. I think parents should make multiple copies, put them inside the door, put one in plastic on the outside of the door, put them in the dash of your car, go give them to the school principal, the superintendent, the school nurse, and all their teachers, and let them know that it's not okay. Put them on notice ahead of time that no one can talk to your kid without your express written permission. But if CPS does show up, you go to your very first hearing before it all gets screwed up by truth and fact. That's what happens. Everybody goes in under truth and fact. And you go to your very first hearing and you take dominion. You have your children in trust. Clearly shows that they're the beneficiary and you're the fiduciary. And you take jurisdiction of the air with that trust document. You have their superior titles, and then you take jurisdiction of the water with this and a contract. And just like Michael Jordan, if they didn't have the express written permission of ABC Inc., they're going to be sued for patent and trademark infringement and breach of contract, interference in contract. It's easier to protect kids before it happens. It's harder after. Plus, if they get in that evil family court situation where even the attorneys are trafficking children, it's almost impossible.
Do you have to wait till they're 8 before you can register them?
No. That's before they could claim their estate. See, the whole goal here, and I haven't even talked about this yet, that's like Sunday's class, is to claim your estate. The legal definition of a minor is somebody under the age of 18 or someone of any age who hasn't claimed their minor estate. That's the ultimate goal. Because when you claim your estate, then you're the king. And the king's busy. The king's running his kingdom. He's sitting on his throne and he gets a presentment, and the only thing he has to do is accept it or rescission it. He accepts it for payment and sends it off. He rescissions it and it goes away. It's the only two choices you got to make. It's easy to be the king because then you can spend time with your queen. See? But you got to get there first. You can be 100% the king or you can be 100% a citizen. When you make a claim that you're the king and you're not, you're somewhere along the way, when you haven't claimed your status, your standing, your jurisdiction, and taken dominion, oh, that's when you go to war with them. That's when they put out war rants, declarations of war. That's what a warrant is. It's a declaration of war, and then you accept it. Got your warranty. Let that sink in for a minute. See, people, most of us don't stop to think. And I could rattle this stuff off really fast and confuse you all. But I try and give you an opportunity to absorb what I'm trying to tell you. And I learned when I do that, we're all more successful. It may be a little hard, a little boring. You got to sit a little longer. But you think about it, and then you act on it. And if I just rattle it off the top of my head really, really fast, and I can talk really fast. But if I do that, you won't get it. And I'll be talking to the same 20 people next year. Okay, I can't have that. I did that for a decade. I can remember when it was hard to get 20 people into a classroom once a month. And then I come back the next month, it's the same 20 people and the same 20. Going to wake up a world that way. No, I love this with a bunch of new people. It's wonderful. Especially a bunch of new people that didn't know David straight, that didn't know any of these concepts. Not one of these things have you been taught. And it's all acts of Congress that were put into place to create this system of fraud. It's history. It's look-upable. You can look it up. I know that's a new word, look-upable. I'm going to patent that one. There's superior law, God's laws, and nature's laws. There's supreme laws, our constitutions, treaties, and our four founding documents. Everything else is shit made up. It's just SMU. And you have to have a big SMU meter where you can recognize the SMU right off the bat. And so when they're talking to you, you go, what are you talking about, man? That's just shit made up. Who invented that one? Right? Who invented that one? Anyway. All right, let's have a little fun. How many married people in here? It's going to be good. I'm going to read you a little story. This is called An Enlightening Conversation with the Marriage License Bureau. About 20 years ago, my former wife filed for divorce. We had 7 children, 5 daughters and 2 sons. Our youngest at the time, our second son, was 5 years old. At the time, I prepared a counterclaim to the petition for dissolution her attorney filed in Domestic Relations Court. I met one afternoon with the head of the Maricopa County Superior Court Marriage License Bureau in downtown Phoenix. The Marriage License Bureau was headed by a young woman of about the age of 25. I asked her to explain to me the general and statutory implications of the marriage license. She was very cooperative and called in an assistant. A tall black man who at the time was working on an operations manual for internal departmental use. He was actually an attorney. Okay? She deferred for most technical explanations to her assistant. No kidding. He walked through the technicalities of the marriage license as it operates in Arizona. He mentioned that marriage licensing is pretty much the same in the other states, but there is a few differences. One significant difference he mentioned was that Arizona is one of 8 western states that are community property states. Well, so is California, right? The other states, which are common law states like Utah, all with the exception of Louisiana. Louisiana's always stuck out in the mud. They're a Napoleonic Code state. A lot of times I'll be reading U.S. law and it says 47 states and Canada. I go, what? Like Canada's a part of the United States? And where's the other 3? Well, the other 3 are Louisiana, off on its own as a French Napoleonic Code state, and Alaska and Hawaii. And I go, well, what about Alaska and Hawaii? Well, it's because they came after December 7th, 1945. They're United Nations states. Yeah, dig that one off for a minute, okay? I help a lot of people in Hawaii. It's interesting. He then explained some of the technicalities of the marriage license. He said, first of all, the marriage license is a secular contract between the parties and the state. The state is the principal party in that secular contract. The husband and wife are secondary or inferior parties. The secular contract is a 3-way contract between the state as principal and the blueprint of a marriage looks something like that. The state joins with the husband and enjoins with the wife. He said in the traditional sense, a marriage is a covenant between the husband and wife and God. But in the secular contract with the state, reference to God is on a dotted line and not officially considered included in the contract at all. Any architectural engineer will tell you that on a blueprint, a dashed line is a beam that bears no weight. God bears no weight in the contract. And that pisses me off. This is the United States Patent and Trademark Office blueprint of a marriage. Yes, the state patented it. Everything's patented. Mortgage fraud's patented, everything's patented. Okay? He said if the husband and wife wish to include God as a party in their marriage, that it is on a dotted line and they will have to add it in their own minds. The state's marriage license is strictly secular, he said. He said further that what he meant by the relationship to God being a dotted line meant that the state regards any mention of God as irrelevant, even meaningless in its description of the marriage license contract, the related one or other dotted line. He said in the traditional religious context, marriage was a covenant between the husband and wife and God, with the husband and wife joined as one. Here's the blueprint of that. It's real simple. That's it. He said in the traditional religious context, marriage was a covenant between the husband and wife and God, with the husband and wife joined as one. This is accomplished with a recording in the family Bible with 3 witnesses. A few years ago, I gave a seminar just like this to about this many people. And it was the 10th Amendment Society of Alabama. And they took it to heart when I talked about this. And they went to their state legislators and they enacted law and Alabama no longer issues a state marriage license. They take a family Bible, they record the event in the family Bible with 3 witnesses, they take it to a probate judge, and the probate judge records it properly upon the land. And so this would be Alabama's blueprint. We need that done in the other states. Okay? In the case of the secular realm of the state's marriage license contract, the state is the principal or dominant party. The husband and wife are merely contractually joined as business partners, not in any religious union. They may even be considered, he said, connected to each other by another dotted line. So the husband and wife are connected through the dotted line. See here, the picture he was trying to plant was that of a triangle with the state at the top and a solid line extending from the apex down, the state down the left side to the husband, and a separate solid line extending down the right side to the wife. A dotted line merely showing that they consider themselves to have entered into a religious union of some sort that is irrelevant to the state. See diagram. He further mentioned that this religious overtone is recognized by the state by requiring that the marriage must be solemnized, either by a state official or by a minister of religion that has been deputized by the state to perform the marriage ceremony and make a return of the signed and executed marriage license to the state. Dave, do you marry people?
Since last week.
Did you ask permission of the state before you can marry people? Do you have to fill out the marriage license and sign off on it and send it back? See, he's contributing to their delinquency of a minor. Please repent. Okay? I'm here to help you out. You don't need to ask permission.
Yeah, we quit doing it when they just begin to say parties instead of husband and wife. And then they rechanged the form. A lot of people bring to them.
I'm about to tell you why they say parties. Again, he emphasized that marriage is strictly secular relationship so far as the state is concerned because it's looked upon as a private business enterprise. Various tax advantages and other political privileges occur and have become attached to the marriage license contract that have nothing at all to do with the marriage as a religious covenant or bond between God and a man and a woman. By way of reference, if you would like to read a legal treatise on marriage, one of the best is a book called Principles of Community Property by William D. Funiak. Yeah, I had a problem with that name too. William D. Funiak wrote that book. Unusual last name. At the outset, he explains that community property law descends from Roman civil law through the Spanish codes of 600 AD, written by the Spanish jurisconsults. In the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a for-profit venture or a profit-making venture, even though it may never actually produce a profit in operation. And as the wife goes out to the local market to purchase food, stuffs, and other supplies for the marriage household, she is replenishing the stocks of the business. I got to say this with a straight face. Quit it. To restate, in the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a business venture that is for-profit business venture. Moreover, as children come into the marriage household, the business venture is considered to have borne fruit. Now back to the explanation by the Maricopa County Superior Court Marriage Bureau Administrative Assistant. He went on to explain that every contract must have consideration. The state offers consideration in the form of the license itself, the piece of paper. the certificate of marriage. The other part of the consideration by the state is the privilege to be regulated by statute. The marriage license application. It's the applications that get you in trouble. But the marriage license application is one of the biggest contractual obligations that the state has on a slave. He added that this privilege to be regulated by statute includes all related statutes and all court cases as they are ruled on by the courts, and all statutes and regulations into the future in the years following the commencement of the marriage. He said, in a way, the marriage license contract is a dynamic or flexible, ever-changing contract as time goes along, even though the husband and wife do not realize that at the time. A contract must be entered into knowingly, intelligently, intentionally, and with fully informed consent. Otherwise, technically, there is no contract. Okay? Understand that. It can be annulled for those reasons. Most people don't annul their marriages. They just get divorced. Well, here's what divorce looks like. That's it. From that point on, anytime you have to deal with your ex-wife or you have to deal with the kids, the husband deals with the state and the wife deals with the state, and never the two shall meet in the middle. Wow. Took away all your freedom, all your righteousness, everything, because you signed your name on an application that you didn't understand. Oh, we'll get to that. It gets worse. Hold on. It always gets worse before it gets better. He said another way to look at the marriage license contract with the state is as a contract of adhesion. A contract, God, I lost my place. A contract between two disparate, unequal parties. Again, a flawed contract. Such a contract with the state is said to be a specific performance contract as to the privileges, duties, and responsibilities that are attached, including your tax issues. Oh, great. You're married, so you get this extra little teeny tiny deduction. How wonderful. I don't think it's worth the price. Consideration on the part of the husband and wife is the fee paid and the implied agreement to be subject to the state statutes, rules, and regulations in all court cases ruled on related to marriage law, family law, children, and property.
It sounds like a law. You're signing a certificate of legislature, of law, instead of marriage. It doesn't have.
Well,
it doesn't have
you are.
It doesn't have anything to do about marriage.
That's right. See, the proper way to get married is in the Bible. See, all the churches prior to 1920 or so in this country, all the churches kept the records. All the churches had the Bible. All the churches recorded the events. See, then it was a marriage. We went from 1607 to the early 1900s where people were married, and guess what? Their marriages usually lasted. If you wonder why marriages aren't lasting, it's because they're not righteous marriages. Yeah, you see how evil works? He emphasized that this contractual consideration by the bride and groom places them in a definite and defined by law position, inferior and subject to the state. He commented that very few people realize this. He also said that it is very important to understand that children born to the marriage are considered by law as the contract-bearing fruit, meaning the children belong to the state, even though the law never comes out and says so in so many words. But they actually do under the doctrine of parens patriae. Okay? In this regard, children born to the contract regarded as the contract-bearing fruit, he said it is vitally important for parents to understand two doctrines that became established in the United States by the 1930s. The first is the doctrine of parens patriae. The second is the doctrine of in loco parentis. In loco parentis. Parens patriae means literally the parent of the country, or to state it more bluntly, the state is the undisclosed true parent. What's that? Now listen to this one. Arizona Supreme Court case states that parents have no property right in their children and have custody of their children during good behavior at the sufferance of the state. Are you pissed yet? I know she gets fired up. This means that parents may raise their children and maintain custody of their children as long as they don't offend the state. But if they in some manner displease the state can step in at any time and exercise its superior status and take custody and control of its children. The parents are only considered conditional caretakers. Thus, the doctrine of in loco parentis.
I have a friend that adopted a foster child in Maricopa County, Arizona, and she said the state, they have to do everything the state says because the state basically owns the child.
It ain't just Arizona.
Oh, no, I know.
You could just substitute the name of California in there and Oregon in there. It doesn't matter. Every state. Okay, he also added a few more technical details if that wasn't enough. The marriage license is an ongoing contractual relationship with the state. Technically, the marriage license is a business license, allowing the husband and wife in the name of the marriage to enter into contracts with third parties and contract for mortgages and debts. What a benefit there, right? They can get car loans, home mortgages, and installment debts in the name of the marriage because it is not only a secular enterprise, but is looked upon by the state as a privileged business enterprise as well as a for-profit business enterprise. The marriage contract acquires property throughout its existence, and over time it is hoped that it increases in value. This goes to the legal term limited conditional title or lease, the right to make a profit or to incur a loss. If you go down and buy a new car, and you register it, you get the opportunity to I can't even say it with a straight face, to make a profit or incur a loss. Also, the marriage contract bears fruit by adding children. If sometime later the marriage fails and a divorce results, the contract continues in existence. Yep, this is all that happens right there. Oh, yeah. The husband's still married to the state, and the wife is still married to the state. You got that now, right? I've said it 3 times already, and it took the 3rd time for most of you to go, oh. See, this is why I try and say these differently every time a little bit. The divorce is merely a contractual dissolution or amendment of the terms and conditions of the contract. An amendment of the terms and conditions of the contract. Jurisdiction of the state over the marriage, over the husband and wife, now separated, continues over all aspects of the marriage, over marital property, over children brought into the marriage, over spousal support, child support, visitation, education, health care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The state has a say in it forever. Forever. Until the end of the earth. That's the definition of forever. That is why family law and the domestic relations court calls divorce a dissolution of the marriage, because the contract continues in operation but is in an amended or modified form. He also pointed out that the marriage license contract is one of the strongest, most binding contractual relationships the state has on its people. You're never free until you annul your marriage. You will never be free. You will never be the king until you annul your marriage. Does that mean you have to separate from the love of your life? No. Just write it down in the Bible. Get 3 people who were there and witness the event to witness it. And then go record it at the county recorder's office on the land. And in California, they won't do it. So record it down in Pima County, Arizona. $30. Talk to Cheryl. Get it recorded. All's recording with the county on the land is publicly publishing your document. And then give a copy to your church.
Will they do it in Oregon?
Yep. Jackson County for $20 extra. Oregon likes their money, see. No, Arizona's pretty cheap. I can record any document in Arizona for $30. But in Oregon, it's $279 plus an extra $20 bribery fee.
Wow, that's not expensive. Sir, so if you get divorced and then you remarry again, that means you have 2 separate contracts with the state.
Oh, yeah. How about 3 times? How about 4? 4 is downright scary when you learn this information. Ask me, I'll tell you. What's that?
You're legal bigamist.
Well, yeah. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Nothing to get you out of Christ like that, right? So you got to annul all those previous marriages. And you're annulling the state. What I do when I annul the state is I do this.
You didn't tell us what that for.
Oh, I haven't got to that yet. We're early in the weekend. Okay, let's get to the fun part here. Yeah, the marriage license contract is one of the strongest, most binding contractual relationships the state has on its people. You wonder why you're getting screwed out there in the courts? That's why. That's why. Now, at the end of our hour-long meeting, I somewhat humorously asked if other people had come in and asked the same questions I was asking. The assistant replied that in the many years he had worked there, he was not aware of anyone else asking these questions. He added that he was very glad to see someone interested in the legal implications of the marriage license and the contractual relationship it creates with the state. His boss, though, the young woman of 25, the head of the Marriage Bureau Department, stated, "You've got to understand something, sir. The people who come in here to get a marriage license are in heat." The last thing they want to know is technical, legal, and statutory implications of the marriage contract. I hope this is helpful information to anyone interested in getting more familiar with the contractual implications of the marriage license. The marriage license, as we know it, didn't come into existence until after the Civil War, and it didn't even become standard practice in all the states until after 1900. It became firmly established by around 1920. In effect, the states or governments appropriated or usurped control of marriages in secular form, and in the process declared common law applicable to marriages abrogated.
David, I want to add something to that.
Stand up.
There was a woman called Isadora Duncan. Have you heard of her? Yeah. Okay. If you look at movies or things about her today, they talk about her being kind of a wild, sexy, free person who was on the free love. But she was one of the people who fought against this because she lived at that time. And there was a whole movement of people in the turn of the century, 1900. She was born in 1877. And in 1902-04, she was getting married on the Bible. Everybody did. And so there was this huge fight going on. But they whitewashed it. It's all gone. If you look at the movies or things they made about Isadora Duncan, they said that, oh, she was against marriage. She was into free love. But she wasn't. She was into a marriage on the Bible. And so, and you'll see, like, they just took out the history. They just, because she was like such a famous person at the turn of the century, and she was so outspoken about getting married on the Bible and not doing the state license. So there was a huge fight going on at that time. It's disappeared from our history.
Yeah, there was a huge argument over that in the early 1900s as well. It was they called it the downfall of religion. The downfall of religion. Isn't that terrible? So, the truth that I'm bringing you is not always easy to handle. It really isn't. But it is absolutely essential in your salvation. And, yes.
Can we make those notes you just read from? Can we make copies for the people here?
Anything I have, all you have to do is ask. It's yours. You brought it up. These thumb drives are $80 a piece. They've got the equivalent of this entire seminar on it. I wasn't even going to offer these today, but later. And I know it was like lightning, right? Okay, I'm going to read you really quick. I mentioned this notice, this warning to all agents. Tell you the history behind this. I put on a seminar like this in Utah, and I was driving back home through southern Idaho, and it was hot. It was July, and this little gal called me out of Nevada, and she says, "David, I've got police officers and a CPS worker at my door. They want to take my daughter." I said, "Are they standing out on your porch?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Lean out the door and tell them you're on the phone with your legal counsel and you'll be with them in a minute. It's July in Nevada. Make them sweat." Grab a yellow pad and a pen, go sit at your kitchen table. I'm going to tell you what to write. And I essentially wrote this document off the top of my head. And she wrote it down on a legal pad. It took her a few pages. It's only one page typed. It says, "Notice and warning to all agents and officers of any de facto government or entity or agency." Right off the bat, I call them out. Okay? As per my lawful counsel, I retain and reserve all my rights. And through the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, all known as supreme law. Once these treaties are brought into the light, you must obey them or face serious consequences. You are trespassing and depriving me of life and liberty and my right to be left alone. You are attempting to commit multiple felony crimes against me. Under the fraudulent doctrine of parens patriae or in loco parentis. Under both ASFA and Social Security Title IV, you cannot remove a child from a parent without the parent's permission. There will be no acceptance by me of any presumptions or assumptions of my status, standing, in jurisdiction, as above all, I hereby retain my right of self-determination. See, your right of self-determination is the foundational cornerstone of all of your rights. You have the right to decide. God gave you free agency. He even threw good and evil out there and said, choose one. Yeah, it's huge. Okay, he gave you the right to choose evil if you want, or choose good. It is liberty. Okay, where was I? Yep, thank you. I do not consent to anything. I will not sign anything. I am challenging your jurisdiction. We have no contractual agreement, and there will be no tacit agreements of me being a citizen, person, resident, or subject, as I am not. I am an American state national with limited diplomatic immunity, and I'm not subject to the false and fraudulent doctrine of parens patriae. The state is not the parent of free men and women. I do not consent, and mere statutes don't apply. As per USC Title 18, Section 242, you are acting under the color of law and are depriving me of my rights. If you came with another, Title 18, Section 241 says, it is a conspiracy to deprive me of my rights. And both of these statutes apply. If you choose to continue, I will be forced by you to file criminal and tort charges against you personally in your private capacity. Under Title 42 of Section 1983, I may sue state or local officials for the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and federal law. Under Bivens versus 6 unknown named agents of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, I may sue federal officials for the violation of constitutional rights. These crimes carry penalties up to $200,000 and up to 10 years in prison, or both, for each count. I will not submit, contract, or consent to any officer, agent, or order from any administrative court or private corporate de facto bar actors, and I will treat them equally as I would any other trespasser. So unless you have a warrant from a constitutional Article 1 or Article 3 court that clearly states its exact purpose, place, and thing, and which is backed up by a sworn claim, not a complaint, a claim. Anyone can complain about anything. Via an affidavit or sworn testimony given under the oath and under the penalty of perjury, please leave here immediately. I hereby now plead the fifth. Sincerely, a free inhabitant of the state, sui juris, just solely under supreme law. About a year and a half ago, I got to go to D.C. And I hate D.C. It's like traveling into the devil's den. But I think one of the best things I did was we got the Department of Justice on their letterhead in a PDF file that you can pull off. Now, under Biden, they made it a little hard to find on their website. It's still there. I found it. They don't make it look as good as they used to. It used to look like this. Full color copy, you could just print off one page. And I think it was one of my best accomplishments, really. I got the Department of Justice on their letterhead to write a summary of Title 18, Section 241 and 242, among others. And they wrote the summary at the top of the page, and they put the actual title, the law, at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to read it to you, because their summary's well written. Really is. Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under color of law. See, rules, codes, statutes, and ordinances are not law. They're colorable. Anything colorable is a fallacy. A fallacy. Colorable. It's colorable. Okay? To willfully deprive a person of a right or a privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. For the purpose of Section 242, acts under color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their lawful authority, but also acts done beyond the bounds of that official's lawful authority. If the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her, I love the words they use. Purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties. Persons acting under color of law within the meaning of this statute include police officers, prison guards, and other law enforcement officials, as well as judges, care providers in public health facilities, and others who are acting as public officials. Acting as public. It is not necessary that the crime be motivated by animus toward the race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin of the victim. The offense is punishable by a range of imprisonment up to a life term or the death penalty, depending upon the circumstances of the crime and the resulting injury, if any. That's their summary. Now let me read the actual title, the law. Title 18 U.S.C. Section 242, whoever under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, customs agents, willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or the laws of these United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include the use, attempted use, or threatened use of a dangerous weapon, like that officer leaning in my car window and putting his hand on his gun, explosives or fire shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse or an attempt to kill, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years or for life or both or more, may be sentenced to the death penalty. What's that? This is Title 18, Section 242 of the United States Code, and it applies to any agent or actor of government, anywhere. Staple these two together and go hand it out like candy and tell them to leave your freaking kids alone. Department of Justice website. What I'm trying to tell you is make the United States Code your friend. It was there for one reason and one reason only, and that's for us to hold our public servants accountable. That's it. That's all it's there for. See, this is a teaser class. You guys are beginners.
Does the color of law mean like under the guise of law, but it's not really law?
Anything that's under the guise of law. Okay, here it is. You have superior law, supreme law, and SMU. No. Corporate bylaws. Anything here is not government. That's rules, codes, statutes, ordinances, policy.
Like wear a mask?
Even mandates. Oh, you want to have some fun? All right, here's some fun. You thought I was going to write law up there, didn't you? No. We have three branches of government. We have legislation, our legislative branch. They make the law. We have the judicial branch. They enforce the law. And we have the administrative branch. And Governor Newsom can't mandate me to do shit. He can't tell me to do anything. He can't instruct the people. In fact, he shouldn't even be talking to the people. The only thing he can do is administrate his agencies. He can tell the state police of California what to do, but he can't tell you what to do, or you what to do. He can't tell any of you what to do. He has no authority to tell the people anything. Tell him to shut his stinking mouth and get off the news. No, he can write an email to his agency. Other than that, he shouldn't even be talking. The only reason he's talking is because he thinks he gets reelected. No, that ain't going to happen. All right? But Governor Kate Brown can't mandate me to do anything in Oregon either. Okay? Where does the word mandate come from? No. It comes from the Mason's Encyclopedia. Oh, no, I'm about to piss you off. This isn't even it yet. All of our legislators operate out of right now, the current 2020 manual for Masons. The legislative manual for Masons. Yeah, every legislator, every state legislation and our federal government operates under the Masons manual. The administrative branch operates under the Masons Manual for Administrative Procedures. The legislative operates under the Masons Manual for Legislative Procedures. And what's worse is the Just ICE system operates under the 2020 Masons Manual for Judicial Procedure. Yeah, you can go online and buy the book if you'd like. All of them. Then along with that book is the Masons Encyclopedia that tells all their definitions. And that's where the word mandate came from. You can take almost every small town, even large city in America, and you can either draw that or you can draw that on Google Earth down on the town. And here will be a Mason's Lodge, a Catholic church, and either a Catholic church school, or a Catholic school, but more importantly, it'll be the City Hall. When you get here, it's going to be worse yet. Now you got the Masons Lodge, you got City Hall, you got a Catholic church. Guess what else you got? What? No, I thought I heard it, but how about a hospital? How many Kaiser Permanentes are there around here? How many tunnels lead from Kaiser Permanente across to empty lots? I'm going to put CM, Cemetery Mortuary. And there's tunnels underground that connect them all. And no matter what the size of the town is, small town or a large town, there they are. On May 9th, we arrested 95 pedophiles that night. $95. Should have been 150 in that area.
What will happen to them under today's laws?
Well, since they, thanks to President Trump, they went under the military.
All child trafficking is now under the military.
President Trump designated Gitmo for trials, Guam for trials, and Terra del Fuege for trials. So now we got Gitmo 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And the trials have been going on since September 30th. 30 news reporters, 30 news reporters last year got a lottery ticket. And they're down at Gitmo. And they are watching the trials. And when it gets reported on, everyone will know. Everyone will know. Okay, but until then, nobody knows. Well, except for me. I've got the court transcripts from Hillary's trial. The evidence we pulled out from underground in Rockford, Illinois, John Brennan was just tried. And so was Podesta. Huma Abedin is being tried right now. She turned state's evidence on Hillary. And I'm going to tell a young lady in here, without everybody knowing who that is, that I got a great opportunity a little bit ago to meet an admiral of the United States Navy who is the chief judge at Gitmo. And it's Admiral Crandall. So I found that very prophetic. Probably no relation whatsoever, but I found it very prophetic, and I cried for days. And he had the privilege of trying Hillary. Anyway, this last year and a half has been pretty interesting. Yeah, I've had a lot of responsibility thrown at me, and it's cost a lot of time, and I'm still trying to wake everybody up. But I've never worked so hard in my life as I have the last year and a half. I don't need that. Okay. No. You know, there's a lot about what's happening out there that makes me quite mad, quite pissed off, of how they handle some things and not others. And it drives me crazy. And I've learned that there's good and evil in all things. And you can take information and you can turn it in, and depending on whose hand it gets in, or who gets assigned to it, or whatever, that determines what's happening. And you have no control over it, and that makes it even worse, because you don't have any say in it. But I'll tell you what I've also learned. I've learned that the people who put affidavits in, the victims that put affidavits in, it's helping. See, there's this one group in northern Utah and southern Idaho that we investigated for going on 5 years. And we know they were performing satanic rituals and doing the things that were bad, and we knew they were higher up people in the local governments that were doing it. And nothing was happening. We turned in all that evidence and nothing was happening because we didn't have any affidavits from any of their victims. We would tell the stories of the victims, but the victims were too scared. Well, a couple of months ago, I put a class on just like this in Salt Lake City in a big hotel right downtown. In fact, you could have thrown a rock and hit the Capitol. And 2 of the victims showed up in the meeting that it came to me a long time ago and told me the stories. And by the end of the 3-day seminar, they came up to me, gave me a hug, and said, "We're willing to put in affidavits now." And so I met with them the next morning before I flew out, and we wrote their affidavits. And I sent them in, and within a week, I had 3 special forces teams, and I had to drive overnight to get there. And then the next night, we hit 3 locations, and we arrested 95 people. And then we have other areas of the country where we can't seem to get anything done. And it pisses me off. And I don't know what to do about it. And it's hard to try and stay righteous. Especially when I'd like to go take care of it in the middle of the night. See? And it's really difficult when you truly love the people involved. And it makes me mad. So enough of that. All right. So June 1st of last year, 2019, June 1st of 2019, they called me to D.C. So I set up my airline tickets and everything I was supposed to go. And they called me back a little while later and say plans have changed. Of course, I bought non-refundable tickets. It's my luck. But President Trump went to England and he took the power from the Queen, from Westminster. And the British people are free right now. They've never been free. They don't know how to be free. They've never been free, so they let Parliament act like our Congress, like Nancy Pelosi, and they let Boris run everything. Yet right now, the people of England are free. There is no monarchy of Great Britain. None. It's gone. The emblems are no longer on the walls of Westminster. But the people have never been free. They haven't been free in 1,200 years. They don't know how. Well, we were free a couple hundred years ago, and we don't know how. That's pretty sad. Our memories are short. They got an excuse. They've never been free. Okay? So anyway, that trip got put off until June 19th, and then when I got there, it wasn't what I thought. I'd been made an ambassador for a couple of sovereign nations because I wrote this trust document. And this trust document was the World's Sovereign Nations Trust. And little did I know that the word was going to spread, and countries were signing up under this trust. And so, thrust upon me, I was made an ambassador of 14 sovereign nations. It's now up to 18, which is kind of cool. But in that, we've done some pretty incredible things. We did things for you. And you're not even a sovereign nation yet. But we did 3 gold sales to President Trump. At lunch, I was showing them, Dave, the contracts we did. First sale was 20,000 metric tons. The second contract was 20,000 metric tons. The third contract was 50,000 metric tons. That's 3.5 747s that left HSBC Hong Kong and landed in Texas to our new depository. Okay. Those planes landed on January 7th. Yep.
Wow.
All of our new currency is printed. See, on June 19th of 2019, I got to see it printed. A lady I was on the phone with this morning, Connie Sloan, was the secretary of the Havengard Linder Trust under James Linder. And they control all the gold in the world under trust by the World Bank. Now, they are not the owners of the gold. They're just the trustees. They don't own it. The gold is owned by kings all over the world, including the kings and queens I see in this room. It's pretty cool. But one thing I had to do was fly over to Zurich, and I was on an airplane for 9.5 hours, and I was surrounded by a group of well-dressed men, and I was dressed like this, because this is how I dress. And I listened to them talk, and I learned something. These guys with the $2,000 loafers and their GQ suits were attorneys for the World Bank. And I was flying over there to sign off as an ambassador for sovereign nations on behalf of the global currency reset, which hasn't happened. Not yet. The United States has to happen first. It's the big domino. And as the dominoes fall, there's nothing going to stop it. But these small sovereign governments, they wanted to get on there. It's kind of like the Convention of States program. Have you heard of that? Okay. A few states have signed on, but until the majority do, nothing really is ever going to come of it. But we had small southern sovereign governments like King George Watin Tatari of the Maoris not wanting to wait. His people need it done. You know, the First Nations of Canada needed it done. We've got a couple of our American Indian tribes that needed something to happen. Okay. You know, we got over half of Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, back to the Indian tribes because of the stupid little trust document I wrote for fun that I never thought would take off. So I'm riding on this airplane, and I'm listening to these guys talk a bunch of legal bull, and I couldn't help myself. Would have been best to shut my mouth, but some good things came of it. I couldn't help myself, and so I started to jump into the conversation. And I started talking to him about the origins of law and the Bible and LAW and common law and admiralty law and trust law, that everything is held in a title via rights or a contract or a trust. And after about 4 hours into that conversation, they said, "Who the hell are you?" And I said, "I'm nobody. I'm just a farm boy from a mill town in Oregon." And they said, "Who the heck are you?" And I just mentioned my name. And they said, "You're the guy the Bar Association's trying to shut down right now." Because yeah. See, we had a bunch of cases all across the country going. And they started throwing those documents out as frivolous when they got popular, because they figured out that the individuals weren't writing the documents, that it was written by some other person and distributed. So they didn't like that. They wanted individual. So anyway, they said, one of them piped up and said, "We're going to get you with syllogism." Well, in 50 years or more of life, I'd never heard the word syllogism. I didn't know what syllogism meant. Had no clue. And they're going to get me with syllogism? What the heck's that? SMU. Here's the definition. An instance of a form of reasoning in which a conclusion is drawn, whether it's valid or not. From two given or assumed propositions or premises, each of which shares a term with the conclusion and shares a common or middle term not present in the conclusion. What? Oh, yeah. The best is yet to come. Let me give you an example. All dogs are animals, and all dogs have 4 legs. Therefore, the conclusion that all animals have 4 legs. Well, that ain't true, is it? Right. It's not true. So they took 2 facts, squirreled them into a false. The problem here is not all animals have 4 legs. Deductive reasoning is distinct from induction. This school of epistemology is highly advanced in syllogism and logical reasoning. Really? Logical reasoning? So what led me to that was called the 12 Presumptions of Court. It's canon law. 3228. A court does not operate according to any true rule of law, but by presumptions of the law. Therefore, presumptions presented by the private bar guild are not rebutted, They become fact and are therefore said to stand true or as truth in commerce. I'm going to sit down on this for a second. There are 12 key presumptions asserted by the private bar guilds, which, if unchallenged, stand as truth. These 12 are public record, public service, public oath, immunity, summons, custody, court of guardians, court of trustees, government as executor or beneficiary, executor dis on tort, incompetence, and guilt. So I'm going to read them, each one. Number one, the presumption of public record. A presumption of public record is that any matter brought before a lower court is a matter for the public record. It's a presumption we make. When in fact, it is presumed by the members of the bar guild that the matter is a private bar guild business matter, and unless openly rebuked and rejected by stating clearly that the matter is to be on the public record, the matter will remain a private bar guild matter completely under the private bar guild rules. Well, it is. The Masons 2020 Masons Manual for Judicial, yeah. Number two, the presumption of public service is that all members of the private bar guild who have sworn a solemn and secret absolute oath to the guild then act as public agents of the government or public officials by making additional oaths of public office that openly and deliberately contradict their private superior oath to the guild. And unless openly rebuked and rejected, the claim stands that these private bar guild members are legitimate public servants and therefore trustees under the public oath. See, they're not. They're acting and pretending to be, and you acquiesce because you don't rebut, because you don't know. If you don't know the law, you don't know. Number three, the presumption of public oath is that all members of the private bar guild acting in the capacity of public officials who have sworn a solemn public oath remain bound by that oath and therefore bound to serve honestly, impartially, and fairly as dictated by their oath. But unless you openly challenge and demand that the presumption stands that the private bar guild members are functioning under their public oath in contradiction to their guild oath, if challenged, such individuals must recuse themselves as having a conflict of interest and cannot possibly stand under the public oath. This is how we removed the judges from the Supreme Court of West Virginia. Wow. Right there. We removed every judge from the Supreme Court of West Virginia. The presumption of immunity is that key members of the private bar guild in the capacity of public officials acting as judges, prosecutors, and magistrates who have sworn a solemn public oath in good faith are immune from personal claims of injury and liability. Unless openly challenged and their oath demanded, the presumption stands that the members of the private bar guild as public trustees acting as judges, prosecutors, and magistrates are immune from any personal accountability for their actions. So you've got to bring it up. You've got to challenge it. This is why your attorney, your defense attorney, who you paid a few $100,000 in money to, says, shh, we'll get our turn. Because your attorney, the prosecuting attorney, and the judge are all members of the same union. the labor union called the bar. Okay. Number 5, the presumption of summons is that by custom a summons unrebutted stands. Summons are by invitation. I'm getting ahead of myself. The presumption of summons is that by custom a summons unrebutted stands, and therefore one who attends court is presumed to accept a position and jurisdiction of the court just by appearing, by general appearance. Attendance to court is by invitation by summons. They're calling the dead in the court. Seances don't always work. Unless the summons is rejected and returned with a copy of the rejection filed prior to choosing to visit or attend, jurisdiction and position as the accused and the existence of guilt stands.
So say that again. It has to be filed and then returned.
You have to, the king rescissions and then returns it to the court. It's your court, guys. The court's not theirs. It's your court. You just don't administer your jurisdictions. So they do. Whose fault is it?
But I asked the first judge for his oath of office, and he absconded, which is recusing himself. But the second one would not recuse. And then the lawyers, the county prosecutor, I also asked for an oath of office. Till now, she's still on the...
Have you gone on the offense?
That's what I'm here for, sir. I don't just want...
I love this man, actually. I've talked to him many times on the phone. And you cannot win the game by playing defense only. You might have the best lineman there is that block the opposing team every time, but somewhere in the game they will score a touchdown. And if you don't have an offense that scores a touchdown, you lost. See, you can't win anything by playing defense all the time. Stop playing defense. Go on the offense. Beat them at their game and beat them first. Got a saying that says, shoot first, die last. The presumption of immunity. You guys can all have this stuff. Yeah.
I'll buy English disc. Is it okay? I'll just post them on the web.
No, because that's what helps us fund stuff. All right.
So when you say you can get this, you're talking about the human rights?
The presumption of custody is that by custom a summons or warrant for arrest unrebutted stands, and therefore one who attends court is presumed to be a thing and therefore liable to be detained in custody by the custodians. This includes the dead legal fiction non-human person that corporate government's rules and regulations are written for. That's right. They write them for the vessel. They don't write them for the man or woman. You got to get that personal, emotional stuff out of it. It's all about your shipping company. Okay? Custodians may only lawfully hold custody of property and things and not flesh and blood soul possessing beings. It's right out of canon law, guys. Unless this presumption is openly challenged by rejection of summons and or at the court, the presumption stands that you are a thing and property and therefore lawfully able to be kept in custody by the custodians. See, You guys are men and women with emotions, and you go in there with emotions and you get all emotional. And you can't talk, and you screw up, and, you know, they run over the top of you, and you stammer around. And you can't do that. You can't do that. If you look like prey, the predator attacks. You can't look like prey. Okay? That was a presumption of custody. Number 7 is the presumption of court of guardians. The presumption of the court of guardians is the presumption that as you may be listed as a resident, therefore a ward of a local government area, and possibly have listed on your passport the letter P, as you are a pauper, and therefore under the guardian powers of the government and its agents as the court of guardians, unless this presumption is openly challenged to demonstrate you're both a general guardian and an executor of the matter of the trust held before the court, the presumption stands and you are by default a pauper and a lunatic. Calls you a lunatic. And therefore must obey the rules of the clerk of guardians or the clerk of magistrates court. See, you know how many young families get their kids taken? They've got to immediately file some court documents, and they go in there and they can't pay the court fees. And so the court clerk hands them a pauperous statement so that they fill out their how much they make and how much they spend and their living expenses, and they're declared a pauper. So the court jumps in and smiles and says, okay, we'll cover all your court costs. Do you know what they just did? They just lost their case. They self-determined that they're a pauper and a slave. I don't care if you got to flip burgers at McDonald's at midnight, come up with the money to pay your court costs, and walk in there with some few pieces of silver and gold. Do you know how important it is to carry silver and gold on you at all times? It's incredibly important. How many of you have silver and gold in your wallets? There's a man right there. See, he's not a pauper. He can never, ever be considered a pauper.
Does it have to be both metals?
Does it have to be? No. I don't know how many of them I have in here, but I have a few.
Does it have to be the United States?
Yeah, see that one right there? That's worth more than all the money in the judge's bank account.
Does it have to be the United States, gold and silver?
What's that?
Does it have to be U.S. minted coin?
No. It's the metal. Now, you want to learn a little thing that President Trump did for you as an interim currency? Here. How many people have seen one of these? There's one on the desk right there. When was this minted? Right after President Trump took office. That would be the answer. He divided the dollar in half. It is signified where all the signatories of the Treasury are on this side. On this side is gold and an inkwell. And the little letters talk about we the people taking back our currency in gold. And on this side, hold on. On this side, it says the United States of America, not United States. And on this side, it says the Federal Reserve note. He's already took back half of your money the day he took office. Notice there are no Masonic symbols on this dollar. No, we don't need to get more of those. See, that's an interim currency. Don't show off how many of them you have. Jeez. Yeah.
Where do you recommend buying the coins from that's reputable?
There are several good places to get silver and gold. You are very fortunate that you live in California. California has a lot of gold and silver around. I buy from the miners directly a lot of the time, and I buy from some of the coin shops, and I buy from some of the patriot groups who are selling silver to raise money for their groups. And I invest quite a bit in gold and silver because I don't like banks. Again, every time I try and find something quickly,
So where do you get Crisco? Is it in Medford? Do you get this in Medford?
here. Who is Q? You asked me who Q is? That's the 6 military agencies under the seal of the President of the United States. That's who Q is. QAnons are something totally different. They're a bunch of keyboard warriors who are sitting around trying to get it right. Do they always? No, they don't. You're welcome. It's a big difference. Something I found at lunchtime, I'm having a hard time finding now. It's just absolutely crazy. Any Democrats in the room? I love you anyway. Oh, good. Have you seen their Democratic logo? I got that from the Democratic National Convention. No. Too what dang long? Well, I don't understand how the state I was born in elects so many awful women into office. Nobody ran against Nancy Pelosi. She ran unopposed. What's wrong with that picture? The Secretary of State wouldn't allow it. Look, there's our nation's capital where Nancy's office is. That's the Illuminati owl that I drew in there. Okay? Yeah, it's pretty hard to see. My iPad's pretty dirty anyway. Oily fingerprints. No, you can't do that because I'm looking for a picture. Good try, though. Dave, I can't find the picture of the money. What the heck's wrong? I found it at lunch.
What's the real value of silver and gold?
A lot, and a lot less than it should be. Oh my gosh. Well, I was going to show you a picture of our new currency. Yeah, we'll find it by tomorrow. Look, as long as we're dealing with fiat currency and we're not holding real money, and it doesn't have to be much, all you got to do is hold it. And you got to walk into court. If you do go into court, maybe you do a peaceful protest at the Capitol and somebody arrests you. And you go into court, you better walk in with your peace flag and in honor. Number one. Number two, you walk in with your silver. I walk in with 40 pieces of silver.
And you show it to them?
Darn right I do. I'll dump the bag out right across the table.
What does that say? What is that?
That I'm not a pauper. I'm not a slave. Okay? The civil flag of peace. You can buy them from uscivilflags.org out of New York State that's been making them for a long time. And you can get them in little tiny desktop sizes, or you can get them in full size. I buy a full size in front of my house. Okay? U.S. Civil Flag of Peace. So you walk in with peace and honor, you walk in with your silver, you walk in with your express trust in hand, you walk in with your superior titles, and you walk in with your contracts, copyrights, trademarks, and your business affairs in order. You do that right there, having the proper status, and you've left them with nothing to adjudicate. You removed all their power, all their authority, all their immunity, and you took it all away from them. And you leave it with nothing to adjudicate. Now, does the criminal family court that doesn't mean anything, it's not a real court in any way, shape, or form, that's trafficking children, is that going to work? No. Not usually. But it helps. It makes them be a little more cautious. Maybe they'll take pause in what they're doing. Maybe they'll start to think to themselves, maybe I shouldn't mess with this one. It's going to be way too much trouble. See, I want them to think that I'm going to cut their throat in the middle of the night.
Is that why you tell them they know where they live?
When government fears the people, we have power. When the people fear the government, we have corruption. So I'm going to walk in there nice, with a smile, like we're going to have tacos afterwards. But I'm going to stand at military attention with my combat boots on, and I'm going to make them think by my knowledge and my actions by what I do and how I move and how I talk and how I stand. And the items that I lay out, that I know what the hell I'm talking about. Even if I don't utter a word, they're going to see it. And I'm going to let them know. See, the object of the game is not for you to walk in there timid as prey and be shaken in your boots. The object of the game is to walk in there and make them shake in their boots and be timid. Do you have to be threatening? No. I can be very non-threatening and very direct. See, it's my eyes. It's looking into their soul. It's letting them know I know they're evil and I'm righteous. And it's how you look at them. If you act like prey, the predators will eat you. You can't be prey. You got to stand strong. You got to stand strong and be tough. Go ahead.
Can you avoid court in most cases?
Yes. You can appear in your documents. Usually the very first document I send to court, depending on how they called me into court. If they called me in with an indictment, I'll rescind the indictment and I will offer to settle if necessary. Disclose to me, Mr. Your Honor, disclose to me the penal sum and the net retentions upon the indictment. What are net retentions? That's the judge's commission. He's a car salesman. Judges get paid a net retention. I got an affidavit from Judge Swetlick out of Wisconsin where he swore under the oath of pains and penalties of perjury that he made over $900,000 in 1 year in net retentions. Yeah, but I won him over to our side first. No, that doesn't include the 200 and some thousand he was paid to be a judge. It's over $1 million a year. Not a bad gig if you can get it, right? Yeah, worth getting elected for. You see, the judges get paid a net retention, a commission. So does the prosecutor. And they share that, their commissions, with the defense attorney.
Sir, she was right here saying that I speak for him. I said, you're crazy. You don't speak for me. I speak for him. I'm standing here. I speak for him. You don't speak for me. Like, look at my trust here.
Yeah. But you see what they did is on their computer sitting at their desk, they pulled up LexisNexis. And LexisNexis knows everything about you. It knows if you checked mark U.S. citizen on your box at your driver's license. It knows every address you've ever lived, every phone number you've ever had, every email address. Your credit report might be 3, 4, 5 pages long. Your LexisNexis report's probably 60 or 70 pages. They know everything about you before you even walked in the door.
Can we get on LexisNexis?
You can do it once a year. And what happens is you put in a request on their website under Truth and Credit or whatever it's called, and you get a report once a year. What they do is they send you a letter in the mail. Gosh, all the things I was looking for earlier, I just found. Now I can't find the LexisNexis report. Yeah, you know how that works. Pretty funny. Anyhow, you get a letter in the mail from LexisNexis, and it says, go to this link, type in this code, and it's good for 30 days. And then you think you're really intelligent, so you go ahead and download the report to your computer, not knowing that in your download, it also expires. So now you can see nothing. And you only get it once a year, and they won't give it to you again. So if you don't do something with it, don't order it. Because once you get that letter in the mail, it was written a week ago. And you got it in the mail now, and it's 30 days from the date the letter was written. So now you only got 3 weeks, maybe. And you need to download and print off that report. And if you forget to print it off and download it and think it's going to be there, it ain't. They are so clever because it goes away really fast. But what you want to do is you want to get your LexisNexis report and you want to make a couple of copies of it really fast. Yep, hard copies. And then you want to highlight all the errors. And yes, there are a lot of errors. I've never lived in Florida. And they had one of my addresses down as Florida. I don't know where the hell they got that. Error, error, error. You need to correct the errors your public servants make and educate them so they don't do it again. LexisNexis is seen by every judge, attorney, or police officer in this country. They know everything about you. It's darn right scary how much they know about you. Get your LexisNexis report and fix it.
Is that government funded and controlled agency or a private agency?
It's a private agency. Aren't they all?
Yeah. Just kind of curious, like Google Enterprise or stuff like that.
All right. Oh, LexisNexis. They literally know everything about you. You can't run, you can't hide from LexisNexis. The purpose, and listen to me in the blue shirt back there, when you think you're a state national and you haven't done the steps necessary to be king and you become a sovereign citizen because you're claiming to be king and you're not, and the only reason I say that is because I love you. The only way to get on LexisNexis as a state national is to send an affidavit of repudiation to the Secretary of State of the United States, repudiating your citizenship and declaring your status under Title 8, Section 1101A21 of the United States Code. And then follow up with that and get your passport that reflects that status. Those two things are critical to becoming a state national. And anyone that says they're a state national and hasn't done those two things is not a state national on LexisNexis. And if you ain't a state national on LexisNexis or with the United States State Department, then you're a sovereign citizen. You're stuck in the middle. You're claiming to be the king when you're not, and they are at war with you, and you will get arrested at some point, probably. See, I like to keep people out of jail.
So what's the downside of becoming a nationalist? You put a target on your back?
No.
Bad guys?
No. Now you're free. There is no downside. You were born a state national. It's your birthright. I was born a Californian. From April 20th to May 3rd of the first year of my life, damn it, I was a Californian, a state national. And then somebody check-marked a box and signed off on me as an informant. Gave me up in a birthing ward at a foundling hospital. And then took me home and babysat me until the state steps in and decides that wasn't good enough. No, that didn't happen to me. My mom was pretty good. Plus, she would have killed him at the door. She was tough. I didn't become a warrior on my own.
What if your birth certificate says witness, not informant?
They lied to you. You probably have the short form. No, you were an informant. Under the Siskiyou Trust Act, this whole birth certificate fraud baloney, which started in England. Any coincidence with the mark of the beast? You're talking about on your checks? Yeah. It says authorized representative. See, that just helps you be put into international law. Authorized representative. So let's talk about that for just a second, I guess, since you brought it up. Every presentment, you have an opportunity to decide its own jurisdiction and what it is. And I should have did this with a bunch of colored pens. Oh well. Usually documents are dead. They're written in black. They're dead documents. And then you have the opportunity to sign here in the jurisdiction of Admiralty. Or you had the opportunity as executor. You ever see one of Donald Trump's executive orders? Signs them in the middle of the page. I'm doing this for a reason. And I don't have a red one. Do I? Where? I'll call it pink. It's okay. I'm okay with my manhood. Men aren't perfect by any means, I'll tell you that. What's that? All right. What does evil do? Just reverse the law? Evil holds a mirror up to righteousness and turns it backwards. Happens every time. So this is an autograph, usually accompanied by a thumbprint. Now, if you're really smart, you're going to be like my nephew. See, I have a king seal that I stamp. Where'd it go? See that bottom rescission there? See, it's got David Lester Strait vessel by David Lester Strait executor, signed in purple, and then my gold king seal stamped. Seals are important. If you don't think so, look at every notary document. So my nephew, the little smart ass that he is, I love him to death. He created one for each jurisdiction. I blew them up. They're really the size of a dollar. private seal for sovereign documents, the Great Seal for Daniel-Joseph clan of Jones, with his birth date on it, and he's got the picture of the Bible with the Alpha and Omega. Estate, executor, administration, Daniel Joseph Jones Estate, all caps name. Estate. In God we trust, trust protector, general executor. U.S. Estate Tribunal enforcement orders, U.S. Superior Court, Territorial Estate Tribunal, Daniel Joseph Jones. It's for the jurisdictional land.
And he puts all three on each document, or when he signs?
Enforcement orders, that's water, land. He's got them in order, land, air, water. He should have flipped them, but anyway. You're the king. God is the King of Kings. Make up your own damn seal. It's yours. It's your seal. It's for your jurisdictions. It ain't up to them. They're private for-profit corporations. Dun & Bradstreet numbers. Acting and pretending to be government. Operating under their enforcement division, their policy enforcers. The City of Yuba City Police Department has its own Dun & Bradstreet number. The City of Yuba City has its own Dun & Bradstreet number. The county of, what was it? Sutter has its own Dun & Bradstreet number. The state of California, the captured flag that Newsom flies behind his silly head, has a Dun & Bradstreet number. It's located at 44 Northwest Congress Avenue, Washington, D.C., in a file drawer. It's not even located in California. How do you feel about that? Well, take it back. I'm not kidding. Demand that they dissolve the corporations. We're doing it city by city by city, county by county by county right now. People are standing up and demanding they dissolve the corporations. Go ahead.
I've got a couple questions. One is, how do we do what you just said, with, like, say, the governor?
Well, don't start at the governor. Don't start at the top. Start at the bottom. What happens? Hold on a minute. Whoa. Look at this. What happens if 1 million of us send our affidavits of repudiation to the Secretary of State of the United States next week? You think it's going to take notice? It's already taken notice. They called me a year ago saying they were taking notice. They called me a year ago and said, we're going to start charging a $2,000 application fee for all of the affidavits we're receiving because we can't process them. A year ago. I said, I don't care what you charge. We're just going to send you affidavits and we're going to default you through banking law. So charge whatever the heck you want. We ain't paying it. We the people don't have to pay nothing. Why are you registering your cars at DMV? You're doing the same thing. Do you meet the demands of your kidnapper? Stop asking permission and start being his king. You have the unalienable right to travel freely upon the highways, and even California state law says you do. Washington state law says you do. It's written the best in the RCW. But every state says you have the right to travel. And you don't travel. You drive or operate a motor vehicle. Now, that's okay if you're driving an Uber.
David, if we can get our city to dissolve the corporation, do they go back to
elected de jure government with individual bonds in order to take office. You know, in the old days, how our founding fathers set this up is that somebody who ran for county commissioner had to own their house free and clear because they put their house up in case they made a mistake. That's called responsibility. Why would you form a corporation? To remove your liability. See, that's what they did. Now they're immune. Now they can attack at will with immunity.
So then we would just learn how, once they get dissolved, then we would learn, the citizens would know what you just said. We'd have to learn.
We operated this way for hundreds of years, and then one day we changed. Between 1905 and 1935, a series of acts of Congress that were put into place that created the Federal Reserve and its banking and corporate systems. Actually, Abraham Lincoln started it. And he put things into place. Who said really?
She did. I mean, I've already come to grips with poor Abe.
Have you?
I have.
Oh, good. Because old Honest Abe wasn't so honest. He was the first bar member president. He wasn't allowed to be president of the United States of America.
And what happened to the 13th Constitution, or the Constitution Amendment 13? That's just gone now.
That's right. He ran for president 5 times and failed because no one wanted the communist son of a buck to be president. He was a friend of Karl Marx, who wrote the Communist Manifesto in 1848. He passed a lot of communistic laws in Illinois, the land of Lincoln, and Illinois is still screwed up because of it. Okay? He represented the Crown. That's it. The British Accreditation Registry. We had other presidents before him who were lawyers, but they were not bar members. No bar member, which is a title of nobility of a foreign agency, could hold office of president. So it wasn't until the big bankers of Boston, Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia got behind him with $7 million into his campaign. His opponent had $5,000. So his name was up on every railroad station, every bridge, every train in the country. And so the people said he's going to win, so they all just voted for him. And then when he took office on day 1, he signed Executive Order number 1. The very first executive order this nation ever had. Because prior to Lincoln, we didn't have any executives. We had presidents. And what he did is he dissolved and declared bankrupt the United States of America. And he incorporated the United States of America as a Delaware corporation. He put the Grand Army of the Republic in charge of the organic government, and then he made himself commander-in-chief of the Army. That's why every president since Lincoln has been sworn in as commander-in-chief, as well as president of the United States of America, as well as president of the corporation. So when you look at Biden's inauguration, you're going to see some things differently. It all happened before noon. The President of the United States of America can't be sworn in until 12:01. Therefore, Trump never turned over being President of the United States of America. The Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America cannot be sworn in until 12:02. Biden's inauguration happened at 11:55 because the corporation can write its own policies and swear them in whenever he wants. It's also why the Bible was upside down. Well, why not? I mean, if you're going to have a symbol of evil, you might as well put her up on stage. Okay? Not really that much.
Can you do it like in a day, or?
No, it's going to take a little longer than that. But usually within 30 days, you can do everything necessary if you get on it.
So there's a little bit of a transition.
Well, gosh, how old are you? You don't have to tell me. Never ask a woman that.
You're going to teach us all this stuff tomorrow, right?
All this stuff tomorrow. You're so funny. You've been making mistakes for a long time is what I'm trying to tell you. Sometimes it takes a minute to unwind the clock. The earlier in the game, the easier. Before your kids are taken is easier. After they're taken, it's a much harder fight. When you're 2 to 3 years into it, it's even harder. Okay? It gets harder and harder and harder the more you're buried deeper and deeper. Stop digging the hole.
The lady you read the letter for, did that just end up?
Yeah, that day it ended. They've never been back. They were never taken. Stopped it cold in its tracks and has done that for more than 300 children. So,
I want to refer back to what you were saying, the criteria for contract. Based on what you said, I don't think I owe on my mortgage anymore because my bank transferred my mortgage, the paperwork over to a third.
it doesn't matter. Your mortgage is under patent. That dead corpse deed is under patent. You can pay it off. You can pay it off with a silver dollar. Hey, there's some interesting things you can do when you become the king, when you learn how. You're not going to do it overnight, and you're not going to do it in one weekend. It's going to take your time and your effort. This is a teaser course. I'm teaching you a lot of truth in a very short period of time and cramming it into your head. And we can go even more and more and more in depth over time. I got groups in Utah that I've been there 4 or 5 times, and I just keep going more in depth. Last weekend in Southern Oregon, we just did a second more in-depth class. Okay, and we did go more in depth. Those are nice because you sit at tables, you can ask questions, you can get more in depth on the second go-around. We have a university set up, State National University, Straight Talk University, they're calling it. I didn't design it. But, and we have information, okay? Don't think this is the end. This is just the meet and greet teaser, okay? Really.
David, on those websites, do you have a list of things that you would do to...
I have a document on there called Steps to Freedom. Step 1 is this. Step 2 is this. Here's what you say when you get to the passport office. Here, yeah, oh yeah.
What is the website?
And we also have the thumb drive available. Anyone that comes to my seminars, I'll give you a code so you can get on the website, and all this information is available. Not only that, we've got trained people now across the country in different groups that if you need help, like you want help in doing all your documents, shoot. I got one of the best gals in Utah that for $500 she'll walk you through it step by step by step by step by step. You want your home put in land patent? We got people that'll do that. I haven't even got to there yet. So can't do it all on the first day. No. I've known Anna 25 years. I love everyone who stands up. I try very hard not to disparage people standing. Okay? But she can only get you part way there. I used to think she'd get you about 60%. I'm now saying it's 40. She can get you 40% of the way there.
And your method gets us 100% there?
The problem is this. I want to keep you out of jail. When her people go to jail, she's nowhere to be found and they call me. I'm tired of that. And I'm getting 4 or 5 calls a day across the country, on average.
And Same
For-
with National Assembly people?
Yeah.
Same thing, wow.
Well, yeah, all the assemblies. They're all good groups. I love everybody standing up in all these groups that are standing up. Okay? Everybody's getting started. It's the Great Awakening. It's an educational system. And you've got to learn what it takes to be free.
Questions. When you talk about rescinding your status, if your parents are alive, would it be good for them to rescind even if you're an adult?
On the affidavit of repudiation, that's something you do on your own. It's an individual thing. The only thing whoever signed as an informant on your birth certificate, if they are still alive, you should explain this to them and get them to, you can do the paper, but we'll have them sign it. You want them to rescind their signature on the birth application, birth certificate application. Always remember, it's not the license that got you in trouble. It's the application that got you in trouble, okay? It doesn't matter if you can find it or not. I got married in Nevada. I just annulled the state of Nevada. It only takes one party in a contract to annul the contract, is null and void, for the cause of fraud and swindle.
What if my ex will not agree to rescind her signature as informant? Because that's the only way for her to keep my daughter by agreeing with the state. How do I go about that?
I don't know. You both got to learn what I'm teaching. And if she's not willing, that's the problem with divorce. That's the problem when you have family members fighting against you. Anytime you have that, it's really tough. So anyway, I guess we're going to take what? Is this the end or a break?